Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Riveting Trips with Jeanie Colclough. I'm your host, Jeanie Colclough. I'm a Condé Nast top travel specialist, and I specialize in helping families and multi-generational groups travel around the world. My areas of specialty are Korea and Italy, but I do love helping anywhere else. If you're a repeat client, I do have lots of repeat clients that come and see me. And I also, if the kids are a little bit older, if they're of drinking age, wine tourism and culinary travel are also good things to contact me on. So in today's episode, we have my friend guest, Usha Rao. She owns her own travel company called Rao Travel. And today we're going to talk about India and how Indians or Indian Americans or Indians of the diaspora are traveling, where to go, maybe as kids get a little bit older and you have multiple ages in your traveling groups and much more. But Usha, why don't you kind of talk a little bit more about yourself and reintroduce yourself to the folks on this episode?
Okay. Thanks, Jeannie. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and be part of your podcast series. It's fun to be part of this and, of course, talk about my passion, which is travel, right? I've been in the industry for 3 decades, and of which 2 of them have been under Rao Travel. I started out as wanting to do vacation planning for my clients, and over the years, that has grown and become more bespoke, more niche. And to a large extent, a lot of my clients are from the Indian diaspora. And people find me essentially through referrals and repeats. Same clients keep coming back to me, just like your clients keep coming back to you. And then they tell their friends and family. And I have clients spread out all over the country. I have clients out in Michigan, in New York, in Florida, Seattle, so various all around the place. And they've all come to me because they get to know that, okay, I can custom design a trip for
Right. It's
them,
for them,
right?
not just
It's for them.
it's not just off like some random tour company's website.
Correct. Right.
Yes.
It's something that I'm talking to them, finding out what is it that they want to do, and then we sit together and collaborate and decide, yes, this is my suggestion. They like it, they don't like it. We keep tweaking it till we get to where it ought to be. So that's what I do.
Okay, and you mentioned in a previous discussion that because you work with a lot of like Indian Americans, let's say, and they are traveling back to their home country, or maybe, I don't
Right.
know, maybe their children were not born there, but they're going and visiting for the very first time, that you see
Absolutely.
shifting ways or like the type of travel
Yeah.
and where they're traveling to is shifted. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. So initially, a lot of my clients would come to me for plans. The Indian diaspora would come to me to travel to other parts of the world, right? They would want me to plan their trips to Peru, to Italy, to Spain. But the trips to India, what they would do is they would plan themselves.
Right, because they're just
Why?
visiting family, right? Or you're just visiting, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. They just want to go chill. The kids are young, so they're
Right.
spending time with their grandparents, aunts, and uncles and stuff. Now, as the kids have grown up, the kids don't want to be all the time with the family. They want to meet their extended family, but they really want to explore different parts of the country. So definitely now they've come to me to ask me to design their trips to India. So that's the slight shift I see. And at the same time, Indians have been in the US for long enough time that
Right.
now there are at least 3 generations.
Yeah.
So I have families where the grandma came to me to plan her trip for her children who were born here and her
Wow.
grandchildren who are here. So suddenly her kids hadn't been, even though they're grown, they hadn't been in a while. Grandchildren hadn't been at all. So she went into details of like, this is what this grandchild likes, and everybody's specifics. And we sort of built the entire program to cater to every individual in the family. Like, the one grandchild loves trains, so we figured out some place in their
Mm,
itinerary to put him on a train, right?
right.
One of the girls' granddaughters, she loves culture and arts, so
Mm.
we designed something where she could actually watch a classical Indian music performance. She also watched a classical Indian dancing performance. And
Yeah.
all these are like on private basis, right? So
Right.
they're not going to a performance that's already being there. We're actually finding artists who could come to where we design, here's where you're going to sit, watch this. interact with the artists themselves. So the takeaway is quite a bit from all
I
of
think
that.
that's kind of
Then I
similar.
had another
Uh-huh. Sorry, I was just gonna say, I was gonna say
yeah,
that's very
go ahead.
similar
Go ahead.
to when I kind of work with Korean American clients, right? I mean, generally, I
Right.
don't have a
Yeah.
whole lot of people that contact me for Korea that are Korean American. Most of them are non-Koreans because when Korean Americans
Right.
travel, they go and visit
Yeah,
family. They just
exactly.
do a couple of things and that's it. So
Yeah.
I can understand how it's very
Yeah.
different when you're from that region or ethnically you have some attachment to that region, how
Right.
you're like, why would I ever hire a travel agent or travel advisor for this trip, right?
Right. Right. Exactly. And the other shift, so the initial shift, there's an in-between shift that happened with my clients. So a lot of clients who are ethnically from the southern part of India, let's say, right? They wanted to go to the north because guess what? They've never
Oh,
been to the northern part of
right.
India.
It's just like
And the
Americans
same
who haven't
thing
been
was
to lots of places in America, right?
exactly. If you're sitting in New York, I find many people haven't come out to California, right?
Right. Yeah.
People sitting in California may not have gone to, let's say, Utah or something.
Or
So it's
Chicago. Yeah.
just similarly. Right. So similarly, a lot of people from within the diaspora are from different parts of the country. So first, my initial thing was they would come to me, they're North Indians, they want to go see the South. The South
Okay.
Indians wanted to see the North. Now it is definitely where they want to explore and show the country. So some
Right.
of them are doing both North South because there's so much to see and they're giving me good, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of their trip to design this whole itinerary. So that's
So
been the fun growth.
for the people that are out there listening, what do you consider the demarcation line from the north to the south of India? Like what city or
Okay. So what's north? It would be Delhi, Agra, Rajasthan, like Jaipur, Jodhpur. Those are the places which would be considered north. The south would be anything starting Hyderabad, Bangalore, Kerala. Kerala is another state very similar to Rajasthan in terms of hospitality.
I feel
Everything
like we
just
need to
flows
have an
really well.
episode on Kerala in and of itself, to be quite honest. Everything I've heard about it, right? The
Yes,
cuisine,
it's just
just everything.
yes,
Yeah.
everything. Their sense of they're acutely aware of climate. They have always been eco-friendly, so they were well ahead of the game in terms of being aware of the environment and the climate. So there, and there's some beautiful properties, and it's just gorgeous in terms of landscape and
Okay, so
food.
let's get back
Can't
to
go wrong.
multi-gen prop itineraries or what you're seeing in
Right.
addition to what would you recommend for a family that's got, more than, let's say it's like 6 to 15, I don't know, 20 people that are
Yeah.
traveling. How do
Yeah.
you negotiate what everybody wants to do? What activities would be the best? Are there things equivalent to like a villa stay as you would in Italy, in
Right.
India that is that have a lot of the services that we see in some of these serviced villas? I'm assuming
Right.
yes, but I don't want to make assumptions.
So the villas are now starting up in certain parts of the country, but overall it's still hotels. But there are boutique hotels. There are, owner-owned properties that are
Right.
actually hotels, but they are not necessarily a branded hotel, right? They're individually owned by maybe the king of one little town somewhere, his descendants
Right.
have a beautiful property that they've converted into a hotel. So those are the kind of places that we would actually have them stay at. So it's something very personal for them, right? In terms of what was your other question you asked me? Let me see here. What is it that they should be doing? So
Yeah.
the best way I find for me when I'm planning is having one person to talk to, right?
Yes, a
The
point person. Yeah. You don't want
point
15
person.
different ones. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's even better is if that one person can tell me the different traits of each of the participants of their trip
Right.
or their interests or the hobbies, because then I start digging and trying to start figuring out maybe this will work well or that will work well. Going back to this families traveling by, to and exploring, I actually had a family that their son, they wanted him to experience the game of cricket.
Okay.
So what we did was, with the help of my partner in India, we actually had them play. They just wanted to see a cricket game, but what we ended
Okay.
up doing was we collaborated with a local high school, and
Hmm.
this was in the town of Agra, and the whole high school team, cricket team, came out. This family became the delegates who were like
Wow.
foreign delegates who came, who got to play cricket. And there were a full-blown like referee who was announcing the game, and they got little gifts away from the school and the principal, and so it was just a mind-blowing experience for them. So
That's very memorable, right? That, I mean, that's something
yeah,
you can't really replicate, right? You
no,
just have to be there,
exactly.
experience it. What an awesome
Exactly.
memory for your
Yeah.
clients.
So stuff like that. So it just, the main requirement, which I'm sure even you have, is the more time they give you to plan something,
Yes.
the better it is, right?
Yeah.
If you come with 3 weeks on your hand, hey, I want to leave in 3 weeks, it's really impossible to
Yeah.
craft anything for them.
Actually, I don't know. I mean, this is a little bit off the topic, but I've been turning away bookings if they don't give me enough advance notice. I just say,
Yeah.
like, if you want the level of service,
Yeah.
I cannot give it to you. You're just gonna have to do it yourself
Yeah.
because, or yeah, it's just not gonna work,
It's
right?
yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. Yeah, I
Yeah.
typically want at least 3 to 4 months lead
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
And the multi-gen family that I was talking to you about, they gave me 6 months
Okay.
because it just needed that kind. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
talking, the eldest in the family was 85, the youngest was 9,
Mm.
and to figure things out, it takes that long
It
time, you
does
know?
take a long time. I don't think people
Yeah,
really realize, like, in order to secure spaces, in order to make certain
yeah,
kinds of dreams or wishes, or things that you don't think are possible come true, you
yeah,
do kind of need to be willing to, plan it. And if you're not,
definitely.
if you're not going to plan in advance, then you need to pay a lot of money if you're not going to plan it in advance for
Right.
the last minute opportunities that
Right.
you
But
want.
then, even then, there are certain things that you just can't, like logistically, you can't pull it together when there's
Yeah.
less time, right? I'm sure you've seen that as well when you've
Yeah,
designed stuff for people,
certain
right?
tickets, right? Certain places and access. I
Yeah,
think I was talking to somebody today about Rome next year, Jubilee, and it's, if you are going to be a religious pilgrim to Rome,
yeah,
then yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough. But if you're just there sightseeing, then it's a little bit, we just have to work around it, right?
right,
But
right.
yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to India, there's so many regions, right? There's a
Yes.
big country. You can't obviously tackle it all in one trip, two
No.
trips, three trips, four trips. You're going to need multiple trips to go
Yeah.
to India. And I think that's why it's a fabulous country to visit and,
Keep
to,
revisiting. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. There's so much to see. And what's interesting about India is that it's so, because of its diversity, if let's say you go 1 year and after about 5 years you decide to go to a different
Mm,
region, your experience is wildly different. It's not replicated at all with what you did 5 years before that, right? So each trip of yours, if you think you really like the place, I would encourage people to go back. Just like what people do for Italy, right? I get so
yeah.
many clients who say, okay, I've gone here, I want to go somewhere else in Italy. I think the same logic has to be used even for India because there's so much to see and experience that it requires multiple trips.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I can talk ad nauseum for Italy. I won't do that on this episode, but there's
Illinois,
20
yeah,
regions. Each
but
region makes
know,
wine, right? Each region has its own
yeah,
cuisine, history, language.
exactly,
So
same
it's,
same
yeah,
thing, yeah.
yeah. So if you can
Yeah.
appreciate that,
And
and yeah,
what's
and maybe pack
yeah,
some
the
patience
good
because
news though,
things
Jeannie,
don't
is
work
that,
the way they do here in the States.
oh my God, yes, yes,
So,
exactly. You know, the thing's not working. If you ask me, I experienced that even in Greece. I mean, you
mm,
go to, it's a European
yeah,
country, but
yeah,
suddenly the
it's
flights are
Southern
delayed. No
European.
different in India, right?
I think
Flights
the
get delayed.
northern Europeans would argue that Greece is not quite the same,
Yeah,
right? Up to
right,
right, and
right,
then the southern Europeans, the Mediterranean countries would say the northerners take themselves a little too seriously. So
right, right.
so
Yep.
it's
So,
like, what are you willing as a traveler? What are you willing to give up and
yeah.
enjoy, and what do you appreciate more, right? Every country, every city is different for everybody,
It's
right?
absolutely. And I think that is the fun part of travel, right? I
Yeah, that
mean,
is the fun part,
because
travel.
just because otherwise, think how boring it would be
Yeah.
if every country replicated what you're experiencing. There's no point in travel, I think. You
Yeah, I
have
mean,
to have
our
something different
children
each
have been
time.
to, I think, 20 plus countries now. And so they're kind of used
Yeah,
to, I mean, everybody gets frustrated with the delay, right? With
right.
some
Yeah,
kind of thing that happens and last minute changes to your trip, but you learn that it's not the end of the world, right? You become flexible and
no. Yeah,
adaptable. And I think those
yeah,
are bigger lessons. And we were discussing how, living in the Silicon Valley, you get stuck in that rat race of you're comparing your child to all your neighbors or your friends' kids. Are they doing the
yeah,
same thing?
yeah.
And, I always tell my kids, like, do you want a birthday party or do you want a trip? Right? And I'm always hoping they're going to say a trip, even if the trip's just like a weekend in San Francisco or Monterey,
Right,
just because like
right,
a birthday party, I don't even remember what birthday gifts that I get anymore from people, right? It just
right.
trips I remember. Gifts, tangible things,
Yes,
I don't really remember that much anymore. So
right.
I
Yeah.
think for them, they
No,
remember.
and also if they're choosing a trip with you, isn't that so memorable for you? Because those are your memories you're making with your family
Yeah,
as they're growing, right? I mean,
yeah.
once they go off to college, which is where my daughter is now, it's like
It's harder, huh?
you don't see them at all.
Hmm.
Yeah, you don't, they have their own life and you only appreciate that they want to spend some time with you. It's not like when they're younger,
Didn't you
when
help
they
her
are
move in
hanging out with you. So
to your grad school?
I did. I did.
Yeah.
You
How
can't
they
stop being a parent.
yeah, how they forget, right? No, but I think
Right.
that's when I see the travels that we've done our kids and our upcoming travels and
Yeah.
things like that. That's where the memories are made because we're so busy living that
Yes.
traveling kind of forces that family time, right?
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
never feel guilty. Oh, like during the regular workday, oh, I don't spend enough time with my kids because it's not
Yeah.
the amount of time. I think it's really the quality time.
Quality of time. Yeah.
Yeah,
You nailed
the quality of time.
it. Yeah.
Is there
Absolutely.
anything else you want to
Yeah.
share with us about India and like multi-gen
Well,
travel?
there's so much to think about and say. But um, you know, I just love planning trips to India. And I think more Indians should actually use India as a new destination because it's so different from, let's say they moved here in the 90s, right?
Yeah,
It's
or even
not
the
the same
70s or
country it is.
60s. Yes.
70s for sure it's not, but
Yeah,
let's say 90s because we're not going so far back. Even
right.
from the 90s to what it is today, it's so different, and it's growing the opportunity of staying in nice places, having local experiences, the level of service has improved. So just everything has become so much better. And I feel more people from the diaspora should treat
Mm,
the country as I've never been there. Oh, yeah, I have some relatives who live here, but I've never been there.
right.
That's when you will actually explore the region a little bit more and look at it from different set of eyes. And your
I
takeaway
think
will be
that's a good
fantastic.
attitude to take because like I said, I've dealt with some Korean American clients who had not been to Korea in 25, 50 years. And I said, okay, this is not the same like
Yeah,
nation that you emigrated from like 25, 50 years ago, right? Every time I go, it
exactly.
changes so much
Yeah,
because change comes so slow
yeah,
here, I
yeah,
think. Ironically, even in
yeah.
the Bay Area, it's so slow, but in these
Yes.
bigger, metropolitan areas, they just rapid
H-
change.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. These are emerging countries, right? Emerging
yes.
markets. So and also the fact of the matter is, even for Korea, right? The demographics of the age demographics, there's
Yes.
so many more young people there than in the US comparatively, right? So
Well,
the
yes
minute you
and no.
have young minds, no?
Well, they have a negative birth rate because it's so, I think, my parents' generation had like two kids. The generation before them had 5 to 9 kids, right? And
Wow.
now this generation is having 0 to 1. So the
Yeah,
the demographics of Korea will change over the next, 25,
25
30 years,
years.
I think, which is
Yeah,
good, but it's gonna take some time. But
right.
I do go and I see, when we went to Korea a couple summers ago with our kids for their second time, just
Yeah,
kind of showing them, oh, this is what we used to do when I was a little kid, or this is what I did when in my college days, or this
right.
is what you can do here. And I
Yeah,
think they just don't understand, like, wow, you came. It's for me, it's weird because, they see a Korea that's much more developed than the one that I left.
Absolutely.
So they're
Yes.
just like, why did you guys leave? Uh, you know, why did you
Exactly.
leave? What was
Yeah.
wrong? And because when they come
Right.
back to California, everything's slow. You have to drive
Right.
everywhere. They're
Right.
like, once again, why? And I said,
Yeah.
well, that's good that you're questioning, right? Countries can change and can
Change.
evolve, right? And develop.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think those are
Exactly.
the great conversations you can have with your kids when you travel. So
Yep.
yeah. So I'm gonna wrap up this episode and say thank you, Usha, for coming on again and sharing
Yeah.
with us your
You're
insight
most
on India
welcome. Yeah.
and elsewhere. So if you'd like to book a trip with us, contact us. Our contact information is below. Once again, thank you to listen to Riveting Trips with Jeanie Colclough. I'm a travel advisor, and if you'd like to join us on a trip for us to plan for you, contact us. Once again, hit like and subscribe and share with your friends. Ciao, ciao, everybody.
Bye. Bye, Jeannie. Thank you.